everyone! Welcome to the channel dedicated to sharing the profound insights and wisdom of Andromedan contactee Alex Collier. If you're new here, you're in for a journey that expands your mind and consciousness, bringing you closer to understanding the messages from the fifth density Andromedan extraterrestrials. For those returning, we're grateful for your continued support. Before we dive into today's enlightening content, we have a small favor to ask. If you find value in the knowledge shared in this video, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to our channel, and clicking the bell icon so you never miss an update. Your engagement helps us amplify Alex Collier's message, allowing us to reach a larger audience with these vital messages. We'd also love to hear from you, so please engage with the comments below. Whether it's a question, your thoughts, or even just an emoji for the sake of engagement, every comment counts. We read every single comment, and your feedback is incredibly valuable to us. Additionally, if you'd like to support us further, consider giving a super thanks tip by clicking the heart with the $sign. This small gesture allows us to continue bringing you more of Alex's messages, unfiltered and directly from his lifelong experiences with the Andromedans. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy today's video.
Hi, everyone.
I'm good.
Good. You look great, and I want to thank James and JP for this wonderful opportunity. JP puts together the promos based on a title that I give him for the webinar, and I realize that I don't always stick to that, okay? And that's totally on me, just so everyone knows. Okay, that's totally on me. That's not on JP or James. I'm the one who deviates. And because sometimes I feel like I have to, or I'm led to go in another direction, just before the webinars take place. So I wanted to clarify that, okay? So he's good enough to put the promos together. But as far as the deviation from the topics, that's always on me. Because this is not a scripted production. Okay? Listen, we have a lot of things. The first thing I want to mention is that we're going to be going to every 2 weeks. Because there is so much going on that we're losing some time. So we're going to go to a program of every 2 weeks. And for those of you who can make it, great. Those who can't, there's always the replays. But the whole idea is to be able to give you and bring you more information about what's going on. And it's very difficult to really see the forest through the trees, because the challenge for all of us as we're awakening is to be able to interpret perception. And we're going to cover that here in just a little bit. But I wanted to talk about some things that are going on. I have some bits and pieces of information that may or may not interest you, but I'm going to share it nonetheless. And then we're going to get into the nitty-gritty. I'm actually very much looking forward to this. For those of us in the West, there's been some issues with Iran. And the fake news media is, of course, attacking the President of the United States for not bombing Iran. But as usual, information's not being shared, and this falls in line with interpreting perception. Now, the perception that the media is painting is that the president is weak, he doesn't have the stomach for it, he can't stand up to bad guys, etc., etc., etc. Okay, well, it turns out that his intuition that someone did this on their own and didn't really clear it turned out to be right. But there's another piece to this that no one's mentioning. And that is that the drone was a global hawk, a stealth drone, okay? It's one of our latest pieces of technology that supposedly had the greatest stealth technology on it. Well, the Iranians painted it with a full target. They painted it. And it was, it can fly below and above 50,000 feet. And they were able to paint it without a problem, even though it was in stealth. Which means that any attack on Iran, every single one of our targets, our aircraft, would have been targeted. They would have been painted and locked on. Okay? So the question is, how did they do that? How did the Iranians know? How did they see our stealths? So there's always more that we're not aware of in the beginning. But, this is just another example of the media, the Cabal, the deep state, the Illuminati, the regressives, wanting to control a narrative and take something that's the reality is this and totally bring us over here to create a completely different scenario that would take our focus away from what is reality. Okay, so we're going to come up to that. We're going to get back to that. We have 5 new planetary bodies in our solar system, at least 5 that I'm aware of, between us and the sun. And in talking to James and JP, what we're going to start doing here is we're going to start doing some media, pictures and video and things of that nature to make this much more in depth and to share with you and show you as best as I can some of the things that I've been talking about over the years. Just so you know, Saturn has thousands of rings around it. Neptune has 5. Uranus has 13, and Jupiter has 3. And you will know in the next few weeks why I'm even bringing that up. But I just want you to know that, okay? Because there are things we're going to be talking about. One of the things that I've always been challenged with is that when you talk about how the Earth is hollow and there's an inner sun, where does all the magnetism come from? And of course, we've been hearing for years that there's an iron core. Well, there is iron, obviously, but it isn't in the dead center of the planet. It's below the crust, and it moves and it navigates and moves all through the Earth. Okay, with the exception of the actual openings. Well, science has finally come out and said, okay, well, we have found out that there's other minerals that also hold a very strong magnetic charge and field that are also contributing to the Earth's magnetic field. Okay, now it's interesting we're beginning to get all this information. And that other mineral that they're now figuring out after all this time, or they're just beginning to admit after all this time, is hematite. Okay, now many women wear it as jewelry and the such. Hematite is also very magnetic. And apparently there is a lot more of it in the Earth's crust than we were ever led to believe. So now they're admitting this. Now, how do I preface this? There is a rumor, or there has been a suggestion made to the White Hats, the Alliance, the benevolence on Earth, that between now in the spring of 2021 that there be full disclosure on the planet, on the surface of the planet. So there is going to be an avalanche of information, both extremely positive and negative. And this is what's prompt of, where should we be focusing on, and why is it so difficult when we're being so distracted? So I'm working up to that. There's some things I wanted to share first. Okay. Bees, I'm jumping around here. Bees understand symbolic mathematics. There have been several studies all over the planet where they understand and they've come to realize that bees can perform basic arithmetic. They can also recognize symbols associated with numbers. That's a pretty extraordinary thing. They're the first insects to ever know that we've ever discovered that can do this. So bees are extraordinary little friends of Earth and humanity. Also, feathers. Birds were not the first to have feathers on the planet. In fact, birds really only began to show up 100 million years ago, or I should say, were shared with the Earth approximately 100 million years ago. But you can go back over 200 million years ago, and there were feathers, but they were on pterodactyls. The flying reptilian birds, they were the first critters on Earth to have feathers. Just thought you'd want to know. The awakening process that is occurring all across the planet, and I'm only going to stick with Earth here, because that's where our focus should be, is a result of consciousness, the connecting of higher consciousness to galactic consciousness, to universal consciousness, to quantum consciousness, and ultimately to Creator, to the Creator's field, or the Creator's consciousness. Now, the Creator's consciousness, God, whatever word you want to use for that, Great Spirit, that consciousness is a field of energy. And within that field of energy, it's holographic. And that holograph is made up of what we call dimensions or planes. 12 to be clear. Now, within those fields of planes or dimensions, there are different levels of awareness and consciousness. Because everything is a gradient of degrees. Okay? Third is no different, fourth is no different, fifth is no different. What's different between each single dimension is not only the experience of expanded consciousness, but it's also the degree of which life exists, that the ability to create life, to create what we believe and perceive in those dimensions. Now, some of you are already creating in fourth density. Some of you are already experiencing fourth dimension here. You are pulling it towards you as we, as a collective consciousness, are beginning to move towards it. You are already pulling that to you. And as such, you are assisting all of humanity in this venture. Every time you do that, those of you who are telepathically communicating with higher consciousnesses, every time you engage in this exercise, you are opening portals. And those portals are between you here now and them there in their time. And as the consciousness is being exchanged, as the information is being exchanged, all the information that comes down passes through you, and through your DNA, it expands out. You send that information out, whether you're aware of it or not. You project it out because you're an antenna. And that field that you are creating when you are communicating is expanding the consciousness here. It is raising the frequency. This is also happening with the Schumann Resonance. There are many levels of intervention that are occurring to assist in this graduation, for lack of a better word or phrase. This is very, very important work. And I'm going to read you a quote, if I may, from Benjamin Franklin. He wrote this in a letter in 1788. It is a common observation here that our cause is the cause of all mankind, and that we are fighting for their freedom of others in defending our own. In other words, in defending our own freedom, we are actually defending and assisting in the freedom of other people. That's what we do every day. Those of us who are meditating, those of us who are bringing a higher consciousness to the planet, those of us who are thinking sovereign, those of us who are assisting humanity, assisting others to get the message out, to get the word out. Every action that we take, collectively, individually, is expanding and raising the frequency of Earth. Now, she's doing her part, obviously. But Earth has always needed a responsible companion, and that's humanity. Okay? And we've not always been responsible. It's not that we've intentionally not been responsible. There has been a stunning amount of manipulation, control, dishonesty, treachery going on in the minds of humanity. But as we awake, as we continue to awaken, as we begin to truly perceive reality for what it is, because you have to understand, reality doesn't have to be defended. It is what it is. The challenge for us is to perceive reality for what it really is. And that's a challenge, because each one of us, based on our upbringing, our past, our religious beliefs, our spiritual beliefs, all of our beliefs, whatever we perceive, we interpret in a different way. And those interpretations are what we project back onto the world. And that's a challenge, because we're learning. As we're awakening, we are beginning to step out of the fog, we are separating ourselves from the fog, from the mainstream, from the collective dumbing down of humanity that's been going on for thousands of years. As we step out of that, we kind of find ourselves on an island by ourselves, with not a whole lot of people to talk to that can understand or share what we're going through, number one, or even our perspectives. And it can be incredibly frustrating to find real, genuine people that are in that same place, or even in the neighborhood. There's a lot of people who talk the talk, but then they go right back to being who they aren't. Okay. And I'm assuming you know what I'm talking about. Because we're getting to a place now where there is this surge around the world, this surge within humanity, where they're truly beginning to awaken to the idea that they aren't really free. They have maybe thought they were free, but now the reality, the actual knowingness, they're seeing that they haven't been free. And in 1774, Alexander Hamilton, who was a colonel in the Revolutionary War Army under George Washington, who became the first Secretary of the Treasury, and who also helped create the first U.S. bank in the newly founded republic, said, "No man in his senses can hesitate in choosing to be free rather than be a slave." And that quote is totally appropriate for where we are today. People are truly beginning to realize that the perception of the world is not really the world. And when they really look at the way the world operates, they are beginning to step back and understand and realize that this isn't working for them anymore. It's not working. And they're going to be searching for more and more answers. And that's why your abilities to perceive and interpret perceptions that are being projected on us all the time is so critical. Now, we're not going to get all of this figured out today. It's just not going to happen. But what's important to understand is this. And let's start on a physical level. Our awakening, our expanded consciousness, is a result of a longing, a spiritual longing that all of us who have soul has awakened. In conjunction with that expanded, that awakening of wanting to understand consciousess, spirit, to connect to something far greater than our physical selves, creator, God, generator of dimensions, it's a great definition of God. Great Spirit, etc., 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 is the fact that our DNA is changing. This is what really, really helps humanity ground this higher information, this higher frequency, this higher consciousness down to Earth. It's our DNA. And it's important to know that because our physical bodies is how we interact with the Earth and with each other in the physical, here in third density. So you have to take care of your bodies. What you put in it, the stress that you carry, the water that you drink, the liquids that you put in it. It's important to really start thinking about taking care of your physical bodies. Because this energy is coming fast and furious. And if there is in fact a timeline for full disclosure, there is going to be an incredible amount of information, data, that we are going to be asked to not only process, but somehow perceive and adapt and then explain or turn into higher consciousness. For example, and the only example that I can give you is my own personal experience with dimensional beings, extraterrestrials. We all grew up believing that we were the only ones, that we were the chosen ones, that, out of the entire unlimited universe, God decided to create us here and rig the system against us. Okay? We were put on a planet where the first human beings bit the apple, screwed everything up, and that because of that, we were all given a check mark, and we were dealt a losing deck of cards, hand of cards, and that we were somehow supposed to figure it out to get a winning hand of cards. Okay, now most of us now know that that is absolute rubbish. There are still some who think it's true. But I'm going to operate on the premise that most of you know that this is just rubbish. Now, my own personal experience in having to talk about my experiences with interdimensional beings has not been without some peril. And other contactees, maybe even some mystics, what's the word? I don't want to say channelers, but there's another word. Clairvoyants have had these issues as well. Because what happens is that you run into a perception. Here you have a reality that is completely different than the perception that the world's been given or has been constructed for the world. So here we come in and we have this different experience, this different reality. And what we have to do, what we're compelled to do, is to share this information in such a way that it doesn't threaten humanity, but it opens a door. It opens a window. It plants seeds to hopefully nurture so that they will be open to the idea that life is just not this one perception. Because the perception that the world had was a box, a tiny little box. And everything in reality, everything that was wrong, everything that was so stuck or limited was based on and had to be figured out with rules that were part of the construction of the box that they had humanity in. And then we come and we start punching holes in the box. Or we tear the box. Or we fill it with so many other things that the box begins to expand and then rip on its own. Which is, in fact, what happened. Now, what's interesting is that even the regressives help participate in this. Just their presence here, just their presence in interacting with the elite, with the Nazis, with the Sumerians, with the Mesopotamians, the Mayans. Just the fact that they were here and they were doing these things and interacting changed humanity's ability to see and realize that there was more outside the box. So whether they wanted to or not, they actually participated in helping humanity expand its consciousness. The trick here is, even though they were assisting in a way, it's how do you interpret the information? How are we supposed to interpret all this information? Light, dark, how do we perceive it? And then how do we integrate it and then project it into the world? Because the reality is, the more awake we become, what you believe is what you're going to see. And that's really important. That what you believe is what you're going to see. And that's a double-edged sword, of course. That's where humanity finds itself at this moment. We're questioning everything. We're beginning to see all these things unfold, all these dark secrets, all this negativity, all these lingering, harmful, dark energies that have been hiding behind belief systems and behind governments and behind philosophical and religious beliefs. What's happening is our frequency is rising and we are beginning to see reality. We're beginning to see through the perceptions and the belief systems to reality. And it's important to know this. Okay? It's really, really important to know this. Because we're seeing things that are beginning to shock some people. I still see things that shock me. And I have to understand that it's shocking me because I didn't think it was there, I didn't believe it, or I chose not to, or I simply couldn't conceive that something this wicked could pretend to be something that wasn't wicked, and that I think I should have known. I should have been able to see it ahead of time. I'm doing my best to explain this, but English language is limited. Now, this awakening, this bringing in higher souls, really began in the 70s. And what I mean by that is that there was a great deal of intelligence here. But souls who were not part of the Earth's reincarnational cycle, of a very, very high frequency, and I'm talking high 4, high 5, even some from 6th, who chose to leave eternity and to fall into the concept of time and physicality, chose to come in here to assist humanity and the Earth herself, as she is beloved, in raising the frequency and freeing humanity and the planet herself from this box, this captive box that we've all been in, and our forefathers and foremothers have been in. And then, now the reason this structure was put into place is because every advanced civilization knows that the children are the strength and the future of any civilization. It doesn't matter where, it doesn't matter the race, it doesn't matter whether they're benevolent or regressive, it doesn't matter what their issues are. For a race to continue in any life form, it has to do with their young ones, okay? Creating new life and giving that life an opportunity to grow and become mature and to evolve. Now, in order to counter that, it was important for the regressives to institutionalize and make morally accepted the idea and the concept of abortion. And this is why the ace stressed many years ago, which is why I have said over the years that any civilization that practices this for more than 120 years has never survived. There's no exceptions to that. They have not survived. Is terminating a pregnancy ever a good idea? I'm sure it is when the life of the mother is involved. Rape, incest, I would think yes. Those are tough answers. I don't have any answers to those things. I don't know. But I'm presenting this to you because This is a conversation we've got to have. I mean, it's not just that. It's about who are we? There is this incredible movement of change sweeping the planet, of an awakening where everyone, many people are wanting to truly experience freedom. And they are redefining the idea of freedom and liberty and what that really means to everyone, to each one individually, and what that looks like in a society, in a culture. And there are 5, 6 generations alive on this planet right now. And the loss of freedom is only 1 generation away. You see, it's only 1 generation away. If we're the 6th, and if we're the 5th, and then we have the other generations below us, their offspring, our youngest now, their offspring, if they are not on board with this, if they are not of like mind, of like spirit, of like frequency, then everything this movement is doing right now, this creating this change, will be snuffed out. Because you got to remember this. We have to be responsible for ourselves. In order to become part of the galactic family, we have to grow up, okay? We have to know what all the rules are. We have to understand them fully. We need to be able to look at our past mistakes and own them, and then correct our behavior or our philosophical beliefs to adjust and to adapt to something that is long-term, that works, that is in harmony, not only with nature, but with spirit, with creator, and the rest of the galaxy and the universe. Okay? This is a big deal. I got chills, big time. These things are unfolding right now in front of us. You know, the awakening that's occurring here in the United States in regards to the deep state, the Cabal, the Illuminati, is incredible. It's incredible. But it's not only happening here, it's also happening in Britain, it's happening in Italy, it's happening in the Middle East, it's happening in South America. And their own issues are relative to what they're experiencing in their own countries. The common denominator, though, is the fact that we are all questioning the narrative, the perception that has been created, that we have bought into, of what life is supposed to be. What is it, really? And what our roles are. I can tell you with absolute certainty that humanity is meant to become a race of leaders. That humanity cannot even begin to comprehend its own potential. That humanity, because of our extremes of emotions, have the ability to create something that our galaxy has never seen. to share an experience, to share a compassion, an emotional connection that very, very few civilizations have ever experienced. And I'll bring up our music. Okay? I'll bring up our ability to create music the way we do, and how it appears to come out of nowhere in many of us, and how it's moved other civilizations out there. Because they feel the emotion. They feel the emotion in the frequency of the notes that musicians have created. Now, I don't know that that's true for heavy metal or rap, okay? But in the general overall scheme of things, it's gotten a lot of people's attention, a lot of civilizations' attention, because they understand, they see the depth that we have. And that we're capable of. And this is a gift. This is totally a gift. Now, we have 5 new planetary bodies in our star system, in our solar system, that at least I'm aware of. And let's assume, although it's really not an assumption, but let's assume the Anunnaki are back, Nibiru. Maybe not the dwarf star. She hasn't moved from behind the sun, but people are photographing it. They're seeing it. The FAA weather cams are capturing all of this. We're going to start sharing some of this stuff with you, for those of you who don't have time to look these things up. Okay? And let's assume that the story we've been told about how they were the last here to genetically modify our physicality, okay, and create our physical form as we know ourselves. Let's just assume for a minute, just to keep it simple, that that's true. Now, the Anunnaki are multidimensional. They're 4th dimension and 3rd dimension. Okay? They're not 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th, or 9th, or 10th, or 11th. They're not. At least not those that interact with us or who have interacted with Earth in the past in physicality. And yet, according to Project Blue Brain in Switzerland, and other studies that have been done and are being done now, your brain has the capacity to see 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th densities. Okay? Your brain does. That didn't come from your physical form. Okay? Because that's not who they are. So they couldn't have created that. That addition to your physical form came from you as the soul that entered the body in uterus. Understand? That's you. You added that piece to yourself, to your physicality. That's your holograph. When you claim the physical form, that's your holograph of your soul imprinted over the physical form. You're magnificent. Every single one of you, you're magnificent. Okay? And the minute we figure this out, it may be a walk in the park at that point. Okay? It just may be a walk in the park at that point. Once we figure this out, once we figure out how to see through perception and truly see reality for what it is. That's why it is so important that we change the narrative. The media, war, hate politicians, hate Trump, Muslims hate Christianity, Christians hate Muslims, Jews hate everybody. I'm just throwing all this stuff out there, okay? All this negativity, all this anger, all this resentment, all this bigotry, it's all bullshit. Okay? It's all bullshit. But if you believe it, then that's what you're going to see. That's what you're going to see. And that goes for everybody. You know, when I see you and you see me, it goes for everybody on the surface of this planet. In Switzerland, they did a very interesting experiment several years back. They went to most of the airports around the world, and they gathered up all the lost cell phones, luggage, and wallets. And they wanted to see how honest people were. This was first started in Zurich, as a matter of fact. This was in the Washington Post, the 21st of June, 2019. And whether there was money in the wallet or not, it didn't matter. And that the exercise was to find out how honest people were. And you'll be happy to know that a very high majority and percentage of the people part of this exercise did everything they could do to return the luggage and the wallets and the cell phones in as-is condition to whoever it was that lost it. Because humanity is essentially very good. We essentially care about each other. We have compassion for each other. We try to look out for each other. We really do. And it was a very interesting experiment. So most of humanity is good. We care. We're loving. We'll do what we can to help in whatever way that we can. Okay? Now, you would never know that from the fake news media all over the planet. You just wouldn't know that. Okay? Because they want us to feed off of each other. Because as long as we feed off each other, we're not evolving, we're not tuned into the spiritual frequencies that are everywhere, and we're damn sure not looking at them. Okay, manipulating, contriving, and scheming, doing everything they can to undermine and sabotage humanity so they can feed off the frequency of fear, hate, anger, and self-loathing. This is all part of seeing the reality. And there is no stopping this. There really isn't. There really is no way of stopping this unless we ourselves give up on ourselves. And I'm not going to let you do that. I'm just not going to let you do it. I'm going to be in your ear, hounding you, because, I want to get off of here. I do. I need a vacation. I need a vacation. So we got to get this done, okay? We have a mission, and we got to accomplish the mission. We got to get this done. I want to go back. This is from Defending Sacred Ground. I want to read something to you. The Andromedan View of Truth on Earth. And this was given back in 1997. This is Mornay. Truth on your planet is a filtered experience, understood only through your personal belief system or concepts. We have discovered everyone on your world has a different truth, and there have been cultures of truth in every society or civilization. It has kept the continuum of light here on your planet. The truth is not told to everyone because everyone, we feel, is not ready to even hear it. There are some who have and would take your truths, put them in a box, and then keep their lives detached from it. The problem is that much of your mankind is taking these truths personally instead of seeing it as an objective truth or reality. They would take this truth and make it very egotistical in order to glorify themselves or others. As we perceive, and through our own experience, a truth is not meant for that at all. They would then create a religion, as you call them, or some other kind of dogma, something that which they could remain detached from, yet glorify themselves in the eyes of others. You are all multidimensional. The secret here is that the wondrous nature of spirit has absolutely nothing to do with your belief systems, your religions, or dogma. In order to think that way, you Terrans should turn the way you understand and perceive yourselves and your life inside out, and make all of your belief systems abstract and not personal. And the idea of that exercise is so that you can see the true nature of the belief system. And if you're not attached to it, if you see it abstractly, then you will know that it hasn't served you. You will know which belief systems don't serve you and haven't served you, and in fact have held you back from acquiring your true spiritual self. Because of your personal attachments, you have cut yourself off from universal knowledge. You have to have an objective mind to gain true knowledge. You have all cultivated the attitude of a subjective self. The isness is inside all of you. And if you won't conceive or believe in your own divinity, how are you going to make a leap to the next level? Because again, what you believe is what you're going to see. Okay? Because you're literally projecting that into reality. How are you going to attract and magnetize true unconditional respect and love to yourself without thinking in this way? If you do not participate, you will only be a spectator. You will not watch or participate in the plan for growth and evolution of your race and with our galaxy. And you will not truly experience it yourself. There's one more piece here, but I think I will save that. It's about the new density characteristics that they themselves were experiencing. I'm going to read just 2 paragraphs and then we'll do the rest the next time. What we are experiencing is the start of the oneness that we would like to talk to you about today and share with you. The vibratory rate of the universe is changing very fast as compared to the rate of compulsory evolution. In your world, the rate of this vibratory rate will be measured by the frequency of the Earth, Schumann Resonance. Now, this is from January 9th, 1997. Okay? In your world, the rate of the vibratory rate will be measured by the frequency of your planet, Schumann Resonance. The effects of this new dimension were introduced in your year 1994, and it is affecting all physical material worlds regardless of their state or dimension. The effects are changing all physical matter, including atoms, protons, hydrogen molecules, and all matter in the 11 creational densities. It is important that this be explained or stated for those that will listen, for it will prove to be verified for those who waver in doubt. All physical matter is going to change because all thought is changing. It is starting in all of us at higher levels in spiritual form, or that we would coin for your discernment, the one mind. So, that was back in 97, and we know what's going on with the Schumann Resonance. Those of us who are paying attention. You know, navigating the awakening, navigating your life as your mind, as your spirit is beginning to awaken and reconnect itself, to realign itself with its true purpose and its true self, is really, really tricky. And as you begin to realign yourself, you're going to experience the loss of friendships. People who you consider to be friends will become acquaintances, and eventually they will move out of your life because your frequency is here. The way you see things is completely different than the masses. It is not that you won't ever see them again. I mean, I can tell you from personal experience that when I first started talking about this in 91, 92, and videos began to circulate back in 94, 95, VHSs, you know, I lost a lot of people that I cared about. You know, and it was all my fault, apparently. I have to tell you, though, in the last 7 or 8 years, I'm amazed at how many of them have come around. So it does happen, you know. They will come around. It's just, you can't convince anyone of anything. All you can do is be an example of your frequency, is to be a vibrational example to those around you. And that's all you can do. And then hope that what you have shared with them, that they have, you know, a finger in one ear, and as it goes in, it's bouncing around somewhere and eventually connects to a neuron and sinks in, as opposed to going out the other side. You know, it's like talking to teenagers. Sometimes you have to repeat it over and over and over and over and over again, and then magically a year or two down the road, they got it. And you're like, wow, that's amazing. You know, it's kind of like that. There are no accidents. There is no reason to be afraid. They want fear. The dark side, they want fear because that lowers our vibration and it keeps us stuck. It reminds me of a story that I have told before of the fisherman on the pier. And he has a big bucket of crabs that he's caught, and they're in this bucket. And this 7, 8-year-old boy walks over and he's looking at the crabs, and he sees one trying to climb out. And he says to the man, he goes, "Sir, that crab's going to get out." And he goes, "No, he won't." He goes, "Yes, sir, he's going to get out." He goes, "No, the others are going to pull him back in." And sure enough, the others grab him and pull him back in because they want to crawl over him and try to get out. That may not be the best analogy, but those who are stuck want company. And we can't be that kind of company. We have to be an example to them, a vibrational example to them, that they can get out of the bucket, that they can leave the bucket, and the whole world, the whole galaxy, the whole universe is available to them at that point. You have to know this. The ETs, the dimensional beings that are coming, the knuckleheads at CERN, what they're experimenting with, it's changing the fabric of our reality here on Earth, whether they like it or not. Okay? Because what it does is when you hear about this information, nefarious or not, what it's doing is you're like, wow, there are a lot more probabilities here. There's a lot more to us. It's expanding our consciousness. And that's what we have to focus on, is to continue that movement, that forward wave of embracing what we forgot, that we used to know. You know? Hey, JP, maybe we can do some questions, if there are any. I know it's a small group today, but...
Oh, yeah, plenty of questions.
Okay.
And some from regulars, like this one from Lauren. A few webinars back, you talked about the hierarchy ruling over us, regressive ETs, shadow government, deep state, etc. Can you go over that again and give us the chain of command as well as the roles they play and what occupation they may hold?
Boy. Okay, that might take 10 minutes or so. Winston Churchill once said that there are entities that rule this planet that are far different than anyone could possibly conceive. Something thereabouts. I know that that's really, really close. And I want you to understand that when I talk about extraterrestrials, I'm not just referring to third density intergalactic travelers. I'm also referring to dimensional beings, beings that live in a physical realm in a dimension that is not our own, but who can interact with us. They have civilizations, they have a culture, they have a system of living with each other that in many respects we mirror, okay? The biggest difference is they don't take each other out in any way, where we do. We take each other out. Now, there has been in place underground a hierarchy of a culture that is predominantly reptilian. On the surface, we have a culture that has been primarily Anunnaki, or maybe I should say more Nephilim. And what I mean by Nephilim is I mean half-breeds. Half Anunnaki, half human. Okay? Earth women who have had offspring. Now, those beings were not allowed to leave the last time the Anunnaki left completely, because they're half-breeds, you see. So that should tell you that the Anunnaki themselves have a class structure, a class system. You have the Nibiru, the ruling class, and you have the Anunnaki. And then underneath that, you will have a warrior class of beings who do probably the yeoman's work of everything that physically needs to be done. It is that lower class that rebelled 480,000 years ago when they came here to mine the planet and our solar system for gold. Okay, they're the ones that rebelled. They didn't want to be underground. They didn't want to do all the dirty work. So, now, as it's been explained to me, those that were here ruling were frustrated. They didn't want to be here anymore. They didn't want to babysit. They didn't want to take care of humanity. They had their little favorites, but the rest of humanity they had absolutely no use for. Okay, they weren't interacting in an outward way in any way, shape, or form. All of this was deep from the shadows. And humanity has been used as a tool by these beings for their pleasure and their amusement. Now, when we detonated the first nuke in New Mexico, that got everybody's attention. Now, the thing is about the first nuke is that the United States didn't build that first bomb. The Nazis did. That was a German nuclear weapon. They couldn't get it to work. They couldn't figure out the trigger mechanisms. But we did. We figured that out. So that first nuke that was blown in New Mexico was a German Nazi nuclear weapon. But that got everybody's attention because nukes tear holes in the fabric of time. Unfortunately, the first batch of visitors we got after that were basically pirates. They were regressive. And they found a kindred spirit, not only with some of the reptilians, not all, but some groups that are under the surface of the planet. But they did with the Anunnaki who had remained and the Elohim that were here. And a plan was put together for an exchange of technology that we would build for them so that they then could leave the earth. And that is why in the late 40s, 50s, technology exploded out of nowhere. And it was because of this exchange of technology. Now, those who participated in this, it was so much more than just the United States military, the Russian military, the Germans, or the English. There were other forces behind all this that they know, but humanity isn't supposed to know about this. Okay? They're not supposed to know about the ruling elite and the bloodlines. But that's really what we're talking about here. What also happened was a group from the Pleiades, and I am not talking about Aldebaran, I'm talking about from Tegeta, also made contact shortly after, I believe it was shortly after the first meeting with the Greys and the Orion group, some of which were humanoid. And they cautioned the world's governments about making such a deal, or to against signing any kind of an agreement or treaty with this group, that they were simply not trustworthy. Well, apparently we had to learn the hard way, or we were manipulated into a situation where we had to make an agreement with the Orion group and the Greys, because they were willing to help the Elohim and the Anunnaki that were here, stuck here, and some of the reptilian groups. Okay, they were all kindred spirits, like I said earlier. And they needed the technology in order to control, manipulate, and to actually leave the planet, because they were tired of being here, stuck here. So that deal went down. What they didn't count on, though, was other benevolent races also being aware of this incident and investigating it for themselves. And that's how we, Earth, our solar system, got on everybody else's radar, especially in the higher dimensions. Because when you tear holes in dimensional time, it sends a shockwave all the way up. I don't know how far it up, but we know it at least went to sixth density, or at least that's what I've been told, that it at least went to sixth density. And that those on six talked to five beings on the fifth density, investigated, started talking to the benevolence on fourth, those who they were mentoring and already had an established relationship, a genuine relationship with, one of trust. And that's how this whole thing began to unfold regarding the intervention. And it was shortly thereafter where they discovered these clusters of incredible soul groups that were here, who had this enormous gift of emotional range and actually had the ability to see higher dimensional realms. That was about 10 minutes, yeah. That's the short answer. Lauren, that's the short answer. But that's essentially it. That's the abridged, the Cliff Notes version. If you're my age, you remember Cliff Notes, right? Okay, got another question?
Oh, yeah. From Elaine Eyre. Do you have any understanding of why Satan, Jesus, and the planet Venus are all referred to as Lucifer, the morning star?
The last time Nibiru came through our solar system, it brought Venus. Point of fact. There are many who have researched the Sumerian and Chaldean texts, history, and who equate Lucifer with Enki. Enki is the half-brother of Enlil and the adopted son of Anu, who is the king or the Yahweh of the Nibiru Anunnaki people race. There are people who also associate the Order of the Snake or the Luciferian movement with Enki. I think Enki's gotten a bad rap over the years. Now, its association with Jesus, no. I don't know what that's about. I think energy, whether it's dark matter or not, or whether that even exists or not, but we know energy exists. And energy can be used to help, to heal, to enlighten, to create, or it can be used to harm, hurt, destroy, or obliterate. It all comes down to one's perception. What does one believe? Now, for the life of me, I can't go to that dark place and even wonder why anyone would use a child and sacrifice it, or eat its heart, or any of those horrific things that do in fact go on this planet. I can't go there. But nonetheless, I know that it's a reality that those things do exist here. But that's the duality. My own personal belief, that's all it is that it is not those who go that far to the dark side, that it really doesn't have anything to do with power. It has to do with somewhere inside of them they loathe and hate themselves. And they believe that acquiring this power will help them go further into destroying their own selves. But they don't have enough courage to just do it to themselves, to take themselves out. They want to punish everything around them because they don't love themselves. I'm still working on that. But that's my answer. I'm kind of going off and leaving the reservation, and I hit a dirt road there and took off, and I apologize. But no, I don't know why Jesus is associated with Venus. I don't. I have shared with you my views on that whole story, and for me, the jury's out on Jesus. We'll find out soon, though. We will absolutely find out soon, because there's all kinds of information coming out, truth that's being revealed, and we'll find out soon. But, let's just go back to what the New Testament does say, and let's assume for the moment that Jesus is who he said he was, and that he is who the Catholic Church said he is. But everything, as far as I'm concerned, that the Vatican has to say has to be suspect. These things I do, ye shall do greater, if ye have faith. So if he is the Christed one, in making that statement, he is also saying you too are Christed. And that these things I do, you can do. Which means he's a brother. Okay? He's a brother. And maybe that's where the relationship should be, or the perception we should have about that relationship is that he's a brother. And that we should be his brother. Okay, and do the same type of things. We'll see. We'll see. All right, JP, I got time for another one or two questions, I think.
Okay, Freddie Carroll says, I think I remember you saying that there were more humans on the planet that were interacting with Morine. Can Morine tell you who they are if you would like to go meet them?
I only know where they are. I don't know who they are. I had somebody from South America contact me, and I think I've shared that with you guys years back. I have reached out to that individual, and his email no longer works or exists, so I don't know what, if anything, is happening with them. I would love to meet them. You have no idea. And if we could ever get together, you would want to be a fly on that wall, I'll tell you that, because it would be an amazing conversation. I have no doubt. That'd be a movie, wouldn't it? That would be a movie. That'd be an excellent screenplay, guys. 4 contactees get together who are experiencing a mentoring from the same race and the same beings, and they finally meet and they re-experience their individual experiences with each other of these beings, and there's an excellent screenplay there, guys. Wow. Okay, another question.
Now, this is from Violet. Selenite caves have been being found in Mexico. Is this magnetic?
I'm sorry, what kind of caves?
Selenite.
Selenite.
Yeah, selenite. Gypsum.
Oh. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know.
Nancy is asking, what websites would you recommend to get accurate news?
Ooh. Nancy, I'm still working on that. It is not so much the website as it is the individuals. And what I can do this next 2 weeks is I will give you a list of where I do go for information, which websites, but more importantly, who the individuals are that I consider information valid. Okay? But again, it all comes down to it all comes back to what we talked about in the very beginning of the webinar, is perception. How do you interpret what they're saying? And, because they're seeing reality through their own filters, and you are being expected to filter through their filters to glean what you can as reality. So that's tricky. That's of course tricky. it's like if you have two kids and someone broke a lamp, and each one of them are telling you the story about how the lamp broke, and they're different because they're different, and you have to sift through both perspectives to figure out what actually happened to the lamp. So my time is up. Boy, they go by quick sometimes. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to every 2 weeks. Thank you for being here. There are a lot more positive things happening than negative. In fact, it's like 4 to 5 to 1. I know you would never know it by listening to the media. But they have an agenda and they have a job, and that's to scare the crap out of you, make you feel terrible about yourself, and to be angry about everything. And the entire purpose of that, their intention, whether they realize it or not, is to lower your frequency. Just be aware of that. And don't let them do it. You are love. You are conceived in love. You'll always be love. And, love always prevails. It always prevails. No matter how dark the day, no matter how dark the night, just light a match. That's all you got to do. Okay? Be the match. Be the flame. Not the reflection of the flame. Be the flame yourself. Okay?
Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you found it insightful, please like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future updates. If you have any questions relating to today's video, please also leave them below. We read all the comments and take on board what our viewers have to say about Alex Collier's work. Remember, your support helps Alex Collier's knowledge and the messages from the Andromedans reach more people. If you'd like to support the channel even more, you can give us a super thanks tip by clicking the heart icon with a $sign. It really helps our team bring you more content. Also, be sure to visit alexcollier.org to sign up for our regular email newsletter. It's the best way to stay updated with the latest news, exclusive content, and upcoming live webinars. For the latest insights from Alex Collier, check out alexcollier.live. And if you want to explore over 250 past webinars, head over to alexcollier.tv. Thank you for being a part of this journey and supporting Alex Collier's work. We couldn't do this without you, and we're genuinely grateful for your support. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the vast mysteries of our universe. If you would like to see the Andromedan contactee Alex Collier live via video stream, we hold a live online seminar every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information on upcoming live webinars, please visit alexcollier.org.